Hello, my name is Hugh Ramus. This is Cooking Up Crime, where I talk about true crime while I eat various foods. This is fried rice right here. Took a 2-week break. Well, my dog died, and I'm trying to move and transfer schools, find an apartment, transfer jobs. It's kind of a lot. As you can see, we have a bare background right now. Hold on. Can you even see it? Cool. Because everything's being packed up, and it's currently I will be delivering it to my new house tomorrow, I think. Should be. God willing. It's good, man. Good heavens. Learn to cook, you'll save money. Today we'll be talking about the Weepy Voiced Killer. We're gonna get into him, because he's really strange. I don't like him that much. He's okay. He's just interesting, to be honest. Anyway, on December 31st of 1980, Karen Podak was severely beaten and left for dead in St. Paul, Minnesota. Yeah, and she was left in a snowbank to die. She had several severe wounds and some brain injury, some brain problems. We're gonna lower you. I think I like this better. Doesn't matter. She, luckily, God's good, she survived, but she remembered nothing, which was kind of unfortunate. The police were notified about her body because a voice had called them, and basically he was crying hysterically. He told the police where to find her body, simply saying, "There's a girl there," and he was saying this in a weepy voice, LOL. His signature weepy voice was what he was known for, and he called the police in this signature weepy voice. I'm gonna see if I can find a clip of it. I'm not that tech savvy, so we'll see. Thumbnail. Cool. I always forget to do that. On June 3rd of 1981, a group of teenagers were playing in a field, and they discovered the body of Kimberly Compton. Kimberly Compton was from Wisconsin, and she was found dead. The killer, the Weepy Voiced Killer, called the police once again and said, quote, "Goddamn, will you find me? I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody." End quote.
Don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her. I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every night. I can't believe it. It's like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself than get locked up. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
Kimberly had wounds on her neck, her chest, and her inner thigh, where she was stabbed 61 times with an ice pick. 2 days later, he apologized to the police for killing Kimberly. Whatever. And he said he was going to turn himself in, but because he's a big fat baby who kills people with ice picks and then calls and cries about it, he actually did not. He never showed up. The police thought this was a prank call, but then he specifically said an ice pick, and that was undisclosed information, and it was a very odd weapon of choice. So they knew this person knew what he was talking about. The phone call was too short to trace, but then a second phone call happened a couple of hours later, and it was traced to a bus phone booth. I miss phone booths, man. Why can't we still have those? Frustrating. The dumb technology, the future. Hate it. Through further research, they actually connected this phone booth to be the same phone that made the call about Karen Podak. I'm sorry if I'm saying that right. It's Potack. It could be Podak. Podak Yellow. Anyway, on June 6th of 1981, he made a courtesy call to the police, saying the newspaper reports were not accurate to what was happening. I feel like there's a fly flying around. Did he fly right in front of my camera several times? I'm aggravated. On June 11th of 1981, he called the police again to apologize for Kimberly's murder. I just don't understand this person. You're obviously guilty, so like why would... He feels guilty, so like why would he... I don't understand. Not a killer. Sorry. His next victim was a lady named Kathleen, and she was found in her apartment dead in St. Paul. A paperboy was working his route along the Mississippi River, where he found a woman's body, and this woman was later identified as Barbara Simmons. Barbara Simmons was a 40-year-old nurse, and she was at the Hexagon. She was at the Hexagon bar the night before, and had told the waitress that she had met this man and gave him a cigarette, and she hoped he was nice because he was giving her a ride home that night. Barbara Simmons, have you never heard of Stranger Danger? What year is this? 81? You're an adult. Barbara Simmons was found by the paperboy, and she had been stabbed several times. And the killer said, quote, "Please don't talk. Just listen. I'm sorry I killed that girl. I stabbed her 40 times. Kimberly Compton was the first one over in St. Paul." Why did I say that so weird? Why did I say like a Muppets character? Anyway, the police then realized that they were dealing with a serial killer, and they reached out to the FBI for help. And this is when an FBI agent named Kimberly Messick, not to be confused with Kimberly Compton, she basically profiled him as being resorting to a juvenile state in which he would cry out about what he had done, and it was to invoke the sort of cat and mouse game that he wanted to play with the police. The police had pulled 8 photos of men with violent histories and showed their mugshots to the bar staff. And the bar staff all narrowed it down to this man named Paul Michael Stephanie. Stephanie. Paul Michael Stephanie. Okay. Paul had actually worked at the manufacturing company nearby where Karen's body was found. Remember Karen? And on August 21st of 1981, the police tried to follow him, but then lost him because they're not doing their job right. Aggravating. How do you lose somebody? On August 21st of 1982, Denise Williams was a 19-year-old sex worker working in Minneapolis. She'd been picked up by a man and got suspicious about him because he wasn't dropping her off where they agreed. I'm assuming the deed was done, you know what I mean? And this was like afterwards. The man stopped at a dead end. Denise is a tough cookie. She was stabbed 15 times with a screwdriver, and she broke a bottle over this man's face and escaped. Good for her. Proud of her. She's doing it. She's doing the most. Basically, a man had heard her screaming and found her crawling away. He wrestled the man that had attacked her until the attacker, ran away. The attacker, the big buffoon, got to his apartment, realized he needed medical attention for the glass bottle that was smashed up against his face, and called the police for help because he's a dumb fool. And it's like, how can you be like, I just got up smashed with a bottle in my face and I need medical attention after I just stabbed this girl 15 times? How does that make any sense? Dumb fool. You can't go to the police. How does that make sense? You know they're both alive. Whatever. Upon arrival to the hospital, the man was identified as Paul Michael Stephanie. We went over this, Matthew. The phone call he made to the police for medical attention then confirmed him as the Weepy Voiced Killer because he used the same dumb voice because he obviously is not intelligent. Let's talk about Paul for a second. Paul was born on September 8th of 1944, just outside Austin, Minneapolis, where he lived with his mother, his stepfather, and his siblings. He reported his stepfather as being very abusive, saying that he would hit him or even push him down the stairs if he got in the way. After high school, Paul actually ended up getting married, shockingly. He didn't stab her, but abandoned his wife and his daughter. So, he's already not looking too great. During an interview with the police, Paul said that he was a victim of a robbery gone wrong, and that's why he needed medical attention for his face. But when the police confronted him with being the Weepy Voiced Killer, he stood up and used his signature voice, the Weepy voice, to say, quote, "You're not gonna pin those on me, because he's a dumb fool, like we've said before." One of the lead detectives on the case was Detective Brown, and he further investigated Paul because they had no actual evidence against Paul besides his voice and the phone call, but that can't be held up in court that well. And he basically found out that Paul had a girlfriend from Syria that went back to her home country to have an arranged marriage, and Brown believed that Paul was acting out in an attempt to get back at his ex-girlfriend who had left him to have an arranged marriage. The idea is that he wasn't in his brain, he wasn't attacking these women, he was attacking his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend, sorry. It is important to note that all of his victims were wearing red at the time of their death. I don't know why that's symbolic, but it's just noteworthy. During Paul's trial, his ex-wife, his sister, and an ex-roommate / significant other lady all said that they believed him to be the Weepy Voiced Killer, based off of his voice and what had happened and what they were told. Paul was convicted of barbarous murder, and he was convicted of the attempted murder of Denise, and he was sentenced to 40 years in prison before dying of cancer in 1998. Paul was a very religious man who was, ironically enough, and he was a devout Catholic, and he believed that when he was diagnosed with cancer that it was his time to come forward and confess his crimes. So he confessed to killing Barbara, Kimberly, and Kathleen. He actually wasn't even a suspect in Kathleen's murder because he didn't make a phone call after her death, but he confessed to her anyway. Paul just said that there was a voice inside of his head telling him to kill people, which I don't really believe, to be honest. The police thought that it was his religious upbringing that somewhat influenced his feelings of guilt after killing his victims, and that's why he felt so compelled to confess his crimes even if he wasn't acknowledging his own identity. Before dying, he asked for a picture of his mother's headstone to have, and he basically said that his mom ever said that if anything ever hurts you, go to God, which is good advice in my opinion. My humble opinion. Anyway, this was the case of Weepy Voiced Killer. It was very short and it was kind of lackluster in some areas, but I kind of found it interesting. I'm gonna try to put some clips in here if I can figure that out. I don't know how to do that, but we'll see. Anyway, as I said, I am moving, so I don't know if I'm gonna be doing this very frequently over the next couple of weeks, but you best believe I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do my darndest. Anyways, this was the Weepy Voiced Killer. If you have any suggestions for what you want me to do, just leave them in the comments below. If you have any criticism, leave them in the comments. If you have a compliment, leave them in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Have a great day.
I want you to forget your past lives and find me the new Christ. I want your heart to melt like ice in the midst of July.